know the answer to the question, they just don't know how to say it. So you have to ask them the right questions to get the answer out of them, right? So the question is, what do students do in a jumbled sentence exercise? Answer? What do the students do? They rearrange the words. They put the words in the correct order. Why is that important? What are they learning? Sentence structure. Syntax. That's the objective of a writing lesson that focuses on jumbled sentences. It's teaching the students syntax, the word order of a sentence, which in English follows subject, verb, object. That's what the students are learning. Are the teachers clear on what that activity is trying to teach students? If the teachers aren't clear, then the students aren't going to be clear, right? So the analysis is focused there. Why are we doing this activity? What are the students learning through this activity? What do you understand about what the students are learning from that activity? So when you ask, notice when you ask those broad questions, even you who've been through this practice, you know the answer, but you got to pull it out of them. Right? So I ask more specific, more targeted, narrow questions. What are the students doing in that exercise? They're doing this. Why do you think they're doing that? What is the purpose of learning? So they learn how to put words in order correctly. What's that called? It's called syntax. Sentence structure. What's the basic structure of a sentence in English? Subject, verb, object. Then, if you're asking those specific questions, you get the answers. And then the teachers realize the objective of the activity and how it benefits the students. So I think we're still kind of confused there about how to ask those questions to make the teachers understand the purpose of those activities and how it affects or what learning will take place on the part of students. Okay? So that's an area to focus on. When we're working on it as trainers, what questions are we asking our teachers to get them to understand the purpose behind the activities? Okay. We also are confused. After analysis comes practice. The practice here for some people was do a micro teaching. You've got 5 minutes to write a lesson plan and micro teach. Is that practical in a 40-minute lesson? But what you could do, instead of asking them to micro teach, is just work on writing a little lesson plan using the EFT book. Here's your IPT framework. Here's your lesson plan template. Choose a lesson from your book. Practice this activity. Write up a short description of a lesson plan. You give them more than 5 minutes. That's impossible. Even you guys, I couldn't do that, right? I couldn't do that in 5 minutes. They can't do it either, right? So think practically about what are good choices for activities for that kind of practice, right? Doing a micro teaching immediately after an input session, we don't even do that to you. We do the input session, and then the following session is micro teaching, right? It's not in the same session. That's impossible. Remember what we talked about with the pyramid and the processing. There's no time to process. You've just done the input. You cannot micro teach, right? It's not an appropriate activity for practice. Choose something much more practical, where the trainees can apply some of that input they've just taken and look at their books and apply it to their context. Very simple, right? Don't ask them to do too much. It's an impossible task. Another area that we're lacking, reflection. We're not giving enough time to it, right? Students don't have to micro-teach and demo to do practice, right? When we did input sessions, you didn't immediately demo and micro-teach. That took a lot of time. There was no time for feedback and reflection, right? And what are we reflecting on if you're in a training session? So for example, you guys set up micro-teaching and demos. Your reflection questions were about those demonstrations. Is that appropriate? Is that what we should be reflecting on? We're reflecting on our training session. So if I was the trainer, right, my training session is about how to plan microteaching. The reflection questions are about what the participants learned in that session, not a reflection of what went well in a demonstration lesson by a participant. Right? Does everybody understand the distinction?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not analyzing that person's demonstration lesson, you're analyzing your trainer's lesson and what you learned from it. Right? These questions about what went well, what didn't go well, that's when you're doing an observation of a micro teaching or a demonstration. But it's not a reflection for a training session. Right? What techniques did you learn today? What do you know now that you didn't know before? What is an action point that you'd like to learn more about, etc. Right? So don't worry, it's still confusing. We just started this week, right?
Yeah.
It takes time. But just to close up the feedback, that's where I think we need to focus. Because those are the key areas where we're switching from teacher to trainer, right? And that's where we're getting confused. We're still not quite there, switching between analyzing a teaching lesson and analyzing a training session. And it's normal because you're just figuring it out. Right? So focus in the future, focus on your analysis, what would be appropriate practice activities, what you can reasonably expect from a group of participants in a training session immediately after input, and then give time for those for reflection. And make sure the reflection is focused on what it needs to be, which is the training session, not the other participants' performance. Okay? Any questions? Shush. Sorry, I tried to make it not cool. Okay? All right. So, I don't know. Group I has something planned. I don't know if they've talked to you guys about it. What's the plan?